It's Jane again, and we're going to go to a totally different kind of subject, and I've never done a video on this like this before, but we're going to try it. And Jimmy's going to start.
Okay. We're going to be discussing the intelligent universe. Now, in this book, it describes artificial intelligence, that's intelligent computers and machines. It also discusses extraterrestrials, the possibility that there are other civilizations in space, which I believe there are. And the emerging mind of the cosmos is that this book describes consciousness, mind, the human race as a whole, its collective consciousness moving in the direction of becoming a super consciousness and literally merging with the force that created the universe, call it what you will, God or whatever, and transcending the universe completely. This is the intelligent universe. This is one of the topics discussed in this book. And this is a scientific book, although that last remark I just made is a speculation on what is possible in the universe. So, any questions?
Well, what I had started out with, when I started reading Eckhart Tolle,
Yeah.
which I like all
was
his writings.
wonderful,
I
yeah.
would read anything he
Yeah.
wrote. But somewhere in there he talked about the atoms. Excuse me. And I went to a science book to check out atoms.
Yeah.
And then I realized that the same atoms are here that were here million years ago,
Billions,
1,000 years ago, billions of years ago. Right, they're the same atoms. They never go away. They never change. They just change in form, I guess. And that they're, well, when I was in science when I was a kid, they said something about we were the same thing as the desk. And I'm like, yeah, right. Yeah. I didn't even go any further with the thought, I guess, at that time.
Right.
But until I started reading Eckhart Tolle. Then, then I was discussing this with someone, and I asked about the atoms, and that they're the same atoms, right? And then it just made sense to me that if they're the same atoms, we break down into these same atoms. It's got to be the same atoms coming back. That when you die...
Right, it's the recycling of material, atomic material. It's a constant recycling. The atoms that make up this body will fall apart and go their separate ways, but the material will be recycled some other way.
Right.
And everything is, all of matter is the thing that came out of the initial explosion, which we call the Big Bang. And out of it came matter that ultimately went into became stars, formed stars, and then out of the stars and the explosion from the material of the stars come the planets and all the things that we have today. And this is all a constantly recurring theme throughout the 14 billion years of the existence of the universe.
And then after I realized that, what was I thinking? Oh, and then I went back to the science book.
Yeah.
And there's actually 25, or I'm not sure the number, but there's different atoms. And that made more sense to me that the wood that they're them kind of atoms to make the wood, and and the birds are the kind of atoms. So if they come back, that it just makes sense to me that they would reform,
right, reconstitute
and
themselves.
go the same way that you got here in the first place.
Sure.
And a lot of religions say it's only mankind that's going to come back, and that the animals don't, But it makes sense to me. They're their own atoms. They're going to come back too.
Well, what is coming back isn't so much the atoms are always being recycled. They're always being used. Okay?
Mhm.
I mean, there's a real possibility that an atom that was in the body of Julius Caesar could be in my body today.
Mhm.
I mean, who knows where
Right.
these atoms, they're
Right.
coming and going
Or
constantly.
do you keep your own atoms and only
No, I
come
don't
back?
believe
You
that you
don't
keep
believe
your
that?
own atoms. I believe, though, the Hindus believe, let's go back to the Hindus, that there's an individual soul that is constantly reincarnating from life after life. But the soul itself is not material, it's mind. And its objective is to evolve through many incarnations in physical form to ultimately evolve to a level where it merges with God, becomes one with God, and never again has to come back to life in the physical universe.
Okay.
But what is being recycled is the material to allow this pageantry to take place. That's all.
Okay.
The material itself will ultimately go the way the universe, it will go into a cold death. It will just cease to be. The universe itself will implode upon itself and snap out of existence. But out of it will come another Big Bang. And that's another thing that recurs constantly. Big Bangs come and they go. They come and they go. Forever. Forever and ever and ever. There'll never be a time when that is not happening. The Hindus call it the day and night of Brahma. The day is the expansion of the universe, and the night is when it closes in on itself and disappears, goes into the great void. And then all of a sudden, boom, it happens all over again.
Okay.
And this takes place over billions and billions and billions of years. And then it implodes again.
Well, another
Forever
thing, okay.
and ever and ever.
I'm not comprehending that all right now. I will watch this video over and till I am I'm not saying that I'm going to know everything when this particular video is gone. I'm just like trying to comprehend and understand it. And even Jesus Christ said, "There's no beginning and no end."
No end. I am the
And I
Alpha and the
remember when I
Omega.
was a kid that what? There's no end. There's no beginning. But now I tend to more believe,
Okay.
know what he's talking about.
Let me make a point here. When we go through our lives, we say things. Oh, that was a beautiful sunset. That is a beautiful painting. That person's got a beautiful face. That was a beautiful feeling. And we're always talking about beauty. We're saying this is beautiful. Okay? And we look around the world and say this is beautiful and that's beautiful. But in the end, it's beauty itself that allows for human beings to recognize beauty in the first place. So what we're beginning to realize is that something stupendously beautiful, something stupendously intelligent, something stupendously divine gave birth to the entire universe itself. And our recognition of this little bit of beauty here, or a little bit of beauty there, is a realization that beauty is behind the whole process. That God is beauty and can only be beautiful, which means that he can only be good, and in the end, all justice that we seek is fulfilled in this beautiful thing, the Godhead. And that, I believe, is the objective of the universe, the realization of that in our personal lives.
And what you said about you don't think the soul comes back, or the soul comes back
I believe
until
the soul,
it's ready
okay, Hinduism believes the soul keeps reincarnating until it's
to here,
enough in the world we live in.
to here. Okay.
Not necessarily on planet Earth, but it manifests itself in a physical body somewhere. And I believe there are innumerable civilizations throughout the universe.
Well, that's a positive. Yeah.
I believe it. I believe
Why would it only be here?
it. Right, absolutely.
True. Right.
It can't be limited to here. Just like years ago, we used to believe the Earth was flat and there was no, we could fall off the edges. We realize now that's not true. Or a little tribe lived among its own people and they couldn't comprehend that other human beings lived near them. Well, we're at that stage now in our own evolution. We now realize, no, if it happened on Earth, it's happened before in the universe. In fact, we've already discovered what? 150 what they call exoplanets, planets beyond our own solar system. Over 150 of them. Now, they're all big gaseous planets like Jupiter. We're beginning now to narrow it down and find smaller planets that might be Earth-sized and just the right distance from their star to be Earth life-bearing. And if that's the case, and I believe we're going to find them, then we will have no doubt that evolution takes place throughout the universe and follows a similar pattern if the planet is right close enough to its star to bear life. That these beings that evolve out of that process will be like ourselves and be asking the very same questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And what's the purpose for all this?
Well, I kind of have a belief that I've been here 1,000 years.
Okay.
I won't go into detail with that, but
Well, in a way,
truly
the material that we live in right now, our bodies, are made up of material that was created minutes after the Big Bang. So we can, are actually the entire physical universe.
Well, what about before the Big Bang?
We don't go there because all the known laws of the physical universe
It's
break
only
down
after.
at that point.
Okay.
But our conclusion is that whatever caused the Big Bang, however the Big Bang popped into existence, its cause had to be something so utterly beyond human comprehension, but has to embody the human urges towards art and beauty and dignity and goodness and social justice and fairness. It has to embody all that, or else why would we have these feelings? Why would we have these feelings and urges to be religious, to be good, to be spiritual, if there wasn't something in our makeup that was pushing us in that direction?
But that is speaking only of the physical universe, like you said, before the Big Bang. But I don't know whether you were asking this question. I don't know. But, my question was, though she was saying, well, what about before that? And I wanted to say, well, before that, though you weren't physical, you could have been, well, your consciousness, soul, somewhere else.
Right.
Before that
spiritual.
occurred. Yeah.
Your
But
spirit.
where would
whatever.
that be if it isn't in this physical universe? See, all the laws of physics came out of the Big Bang. We know that. So, whatever is responsible for the Big Bang could not certainly be subscribing to the laws of the physical universe because they came with the physical universe. It had to be something so utterly beyond the physical matter that our minds are unable to grasp what it could possibly be. We don't. How can so we call it God. We always resort to that word. It's God.
What's what they just found? That link.
The Higgs boson. The Higgs particle, they call it the God particle. This particle is the particle that tells other particles how to behave and what to do. How to have the atomic structure in such a way that a oxygen atom and a nitrogen atom come together and form H2O, water. A hydrogen and an oxygen atom come together. Well, the Higgs particle informs them on how to become an oxygen atom, how to become a hydrogen atom, how to become this type of atom or that type of atom. Now, it's a curious particle because itself, it has no mass of any kind, yet it contains information that creates particles.
Wow. it's more freaky every time.
It is. It's startlingly beautiful, though, because the Higgs boson, and that's why physicists jokingly call it sounds like the God particle. Well, what else would it be? It's a massless particle that has information and tells another particle.
How do they know they found it?
They didn't even find it. They find what they call traces of it, or
Traces, right? That's what I heard.
It's like it's a shadow.
Oh, okay. Isn't that weird?
It's deep.
Yeah.
It's mind-bogglingly deep. And this is what's going on now. They just discovered it the other day. they were talking about.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
No.
It looked within a
No.
month or
And the,
two.
and the Professor Higgs, who came up with the idea, they kind of panned him and said, "Oh, it sounds like the God particle. If you find that, then you know now we know there's a God." Well, okay, no, but geez, it sounds like something's going on there,
Yeah.
and you can safely say, "Well, it looks like it's God-like to me," because it's creating a massless particle that itself informs other particles how to behave, that just coincidentally behave in such a way that brings about life in the universe, and life brings about mind in the universe. Then mind starts to ask, well, what am I here for? Who am I? What's this all about? Something wants that to happen. Something deep and utterly profound and beautiful wants that to happen. And that's where our faith comes from. That's where our belief comes from. And that's where human urge to social justice comes from. It comes from all those urges. And it comes from the very beginning of the universe. So